Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's Small Business Bootcamp. I'm Robert Theobald, Small Business Ombudsman and Vice President of Small Business Services at the Arizona Commerce Authority, and I'm your host today. As we like to do, if you're new with us, please post up in the chat where you are tuning in from. We'd like to know where we've got everybody coming in from. So I see we've got Simone from Pine, Arizona, and Shay from East Mesa. From 85212. I'm over in 85213. Got Chandler, Mesa, Phoenix, Amato, right. Marana, Glendale, Peoria, North Phoenix. Excellent. Again, if you just joined in, please post in the chat where you're tuning in from. So we can see where we've got our attendees from throughout the state. We've got Scott from Sholo. We have a good wide range of attendees. Casa Grande, Tempe. Excellent. Well, let's jump into today's session. Again, for those that are new, that haven't been with us before, we like to start by thanking all of our community partners. We could not do these bootcamp webinars without them, their time, their effort, and their expertise. They are a great resource, and we're glad that they're willing to give back to the businesses in Arizona. There we go. So the Small Business Bootcamp is designed to help small businesses prepare, plan, and grow. It is not only the webinar that we do every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10, but it is also other webinars we call special sessions. Sometimes we do lunch and learn workshops virtually, and then sometimes we have some in-person workshops, and they all fall under our bootcamp program, and they're there to help small businesses grow throughout the state. A great part of the bootcamp program is our content library. We record all of our webinars, both the Tuesday webinars and when we do workshops virtually, and we include those in our content library. So you can go to our content library. There's no cost to access it, and there's a diverse collection of well over 300 recorded webinars and presentations. You can download the slide decks for most of the presentations, but you can also watch the video recording of it. So it's an amazing resource. Available again to you at no cost. The ACA also has a number of other programs that help support small businesses throughout the state. We have our Career Readiness Credential, the Arizona Innovation Challenge, the Arizona Manufacturer Extension Partnership Program for manufacturers. For those looking to export your goods and services, there's the Arizona State Trade Expansion Program. If you're looking for employees, there's the Arizona at Work programs. And then for overall small business information and support, we have our small business services team that I oversee. You can find information on all those at that website listed below at azcommerce.com/programs, or select across the top of our website, you'll see a programs tab, and you can find that information on all these. One of those programs we like to talk about is our small business checklist. This is an online interactive resource that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs that are looking to either start their business or expand and grow their business to identify the commonly requested licensing, registration, and compliance requirements at the local, state, and federal levels. It's an amazing resource. You can get your phone out, you can scan that QR code, and it'll take you to it. There's a ton of in-depth information. But also, if you want some quicker information, you can try our virtual assistants you'll find on that page. Sally is our virtual assistant. State and local licensing information is her acronym. So great tool for everybody out there that are looking to do business in Arizona. So with that, we'd like to share some other information that's helpful for businesses around the state. First up, we have our Moonshots 5th Annual Rural Arizona Pitch Competition. It's free to participate. There's going to be 16 different cities throughout the state that the pitch competition will be part of. It kicked off about a week and a half ago with the first competition was in Wickenburg. And again, it's throughout rural Arizona, and it's a great program. I love being part of it. If you do participate, you will find me there as a judge and mentor. And if I can't make it, somebody from my team is there as well to help out. Also, the application, I believe, is still open for the Impact AZ Accelerator program. This is a great program being run by the ThinkZilla team over out of Scottsdale. It's a nearly year-long program to help small businesses, the Black and minority-owned businesses, to help them understand contracting and get more contracts to grow their business. And then we're going to post a link in the chat for some small business grant opportunities. It's an article from the Phoenix Business Journal. It outlines, there's not a lot of grants for small businesses, but there are some. And this outlines some of those grants. Many of them are competitive and for existing businesses, but you can check that out and see if any of them apply to your business and what you're looking to do. So with that, we want to look at our upcoming sessions. Next week, we have the ABCs of starting your own business. It's a great presentation in partnership with the team over at SCORE. And then we have the importance of financial management. And then project management 365, moving your projects through the pipeline. Real excited about these next three. We've got a great lineup, again, all the way until June schedule out. But these are all returning presenters who have done a great job in the past, and we're looking forward to having them with us again. So we hope you can join us for those webinars. With that, we're going to jump into today's session. We've got a new presenter with us today. We have Cac Varley. He's the Chief Digital Officer at Cac Varley Marketing, and we're excited to have him with us. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Cac's going to load up his information. For questions, we want to have some audience participation. Your questions are very important. So we want you to post those in the Q&A that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. We do that so they don't get lost in amongst any of the information in the chat. And we'll, I believe Cac's going to ask for some feedback through the chat as well. But your feedback and participation in this is very helpful, and it'll help get the most out of it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead again, stop sharing my screen, and Cac, it is all yours. You're still on mute.
Of course, I had to do that. It would not be a presentation without a mistake like that, So again, thanks, Robert. I really appreciate it. Faith, thank you for inviting me. It's my honor to be here. And today, I wanted to talk a little bit about inbound marketing. But before we get there, I just wanted to talk about a little bit about myself, just so you know that I'm not a robot over here doing this presentation. Obviously, I'm a digital marketing guy. For those of you that are music geeks like me, raise your hand, because I love music. I came from the music world, went into sales, and then finally into digital marketing. That's sort of the trajectory of my life, or journey, if you will. I'm a big health guy, love exercise, eating well, but I also like to have a good time. And then let us not forget that I must take care of a family. So I am the admin assistant to my family. Great. So let's, again, I want to talk about this thing called inbound marketing. It's quite a new term out there. And look, the fact of the matter is marketing people like to make up new phrases to confuse people. Because why? Because they want to be unique, right? But the reality is that inbound marketing is just another term for lead generation, if you will. So what does that mean when it comes to the digital world? Well, I would have to go to what I would define as two different types of digital marketing, right? The first being branding. We all know branding. It's how we look. It's our messaging. Our companies have branding logos. We have sometimes our own personal brand that we work on or take part in, or build, if you will, or present. It's important. By no stretch of the imagination am I saying that branding is not important, because I'm doing this webinar. It is very important. It is. First of all, I consider it to be the price of entry. You have to have branding. It's just what we need to do Doesn't matter how small or large you are as a business, you need branding, right? And I do branding. But then there's this other piece called, oh, why can't I? Oh, here we go. Called inbound, right? Which again is leveraging your digital assets to bring leads, revenue, customers, things of that nature. And that's especially when you get into the small business world, it's very important, right? Because you could put a website up, but if it's not driving anything for you on the other side, which could be money or customers, or if you will, diners, if you're a restaurant or something like that, then it's more or less a digital brochure, if you will. So how does this look on the inbound world in terms of how we operate, right? And a lot of you have probably seen this before. It's called the marketing funnel, right? It starts at the top as the awareness piece, which in this case in the digital world would be your advertising, your SEO, and content. Content is strongly associated to SEO. And then you have your engagement piece, which is your social media and email, which everybody knows and everybody's a part of. Either you're on social media or you're on social media one way or another. Or you might be getting email marketing messages from, places that you purchase from or things of that nature. And then there's the actual websites where people convert into customers or leads or whatever have you. And then the back end of that is typically a customer relationship management platform where you retain the information of those customers, educate yourself, review them, optimize, and learn from that data, and then take it out to your marketing again, start at the top of the funnel again. So that's what it looks like. And let me do this real quick. I'll show you some tools here that goes through every one of these pieces of the funnel. Let's start with advertising. With this right here is what you're looking at is Google Ads. There are many different types of online advertising. There are, there's the Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms. There's also programmatic advertising where you can advertise on other, like if you were, like selling sports gear, you could be on ESPN's website. You could be on NASDAQ's website. You could be, any number of different websites out there. It's called programmatic. Then you have the SEO piece of this, which this is a tool that I use for SEO. And obviously you can see here, there's a ranking system. We're trying to rank for certain keywords. Important to note here for those that are going to get into SEO from some company is that no keyword is the same. They're not equal. There are different types of key phrases. There are 4 types, as a matter of fact. There's informational, which is just, you're providing free information. There's navigational, is like, where do I get something? There's commercial, which will be like the brands, Amazon, things of that nature. Well, and there's transactional, which is people want to transact. So they put a certain keyword in here, right? So for my business, for instance, I'm a service-oriented business. So I have to remain into those in those transactional keywords so that I can bring those type of leads into my website. And of course, a big part of SEO, there's so many parts of SEO, right? There's the reviews, there's the local SEO with GMB, or if you will, Google My Business now called Google Business Profile. And then there's content. You have to build content. And by the way, the content on your website has to be structured very specifically for Google to pick up what you're delivering content-wise. And so then there's blogging that you have to do, like such as this, what we do for a client. Here's another one that we do locally here in Arizona for a landscape design company. We build these blogs for them. These are all these blogs. Every single one of them is optimized for SEO. Then you got the social media piece. I'm not going to take you through that. You guys are all very familiar with social media, right? Then there's the website piece. This is where the conversion happens, right? Obviously, we want to build a space where people can convert anywhere they go. They can contact you, bring in a lead, or if you're e-commerce, obviously you want people to buy. And then there's CRM. I didn't have time to bring up my HubSpot, but here's a active campaign example where we built a custom pipeline for somebody. So when somebody fills out a form, they go in here and there's automations that are built in each one of these stages, and they automatically move to the next stage. So that's sort of like the snapshot of what inbound marketing is, which again is just purely lead generation, or if you will, e-commerce. Believe it or not, that is my presentation. So I made it very easy for people to get through this webinar. And if anybody has any questions, this is where I love to take questions. You'll find that I'm a pretty straight shooter when it comes to this sort of stuff. So shoot away. If you got questions, I'd like to hear them.
Yes, please post up go ahead and post it either in the chat or in the Q&A, your questions. We have this time with CAC. We want to go ahead, and a lot of times these questions that you have will actually help other businesses that are on the call with questions they may have also had and they're just not wanting to ask. And if you want to raise your hand, we can also allow you to talk and bring you on to ask your question. Since we have some time, we can do that.
Yep. Yeah, I want this to be helpful for people as much as possible. So I'm an open book right now, folks.
All right, here's one are there other CRMs other than HubSpot that are not too pricey and easy to learn and utilize?
There are quite a few, and man, I could list them off. I mean, there's the Pipe Tribes. There's for people that don't want the expense of a HubSpot, because I understand, I was a HubSpot partner, so I completely understand the price of HubSpot and why it can frustrate some people along the way. So then I usually take them to something more simple, like this active campaign that I was showing earlier, where we build this pipeline, because this is all the customer really needed. He just wanted to track contacts, be able to send a monthly newsletter kind of situation, and then track these people down the pipe until they become a customer. So all he cared about was a sales pipeline, essentially. So that's where I came in with this solution. So my answer is there's plenty of them out there, but what I would ask you to do is be careful not to just jump into something, meaning understand what it is that you really want, right? And then go from there and find that thing that fits that bill, right? Because I've seen a lot of people jump into a CRM. They're like, I heard about it, it's great. Go high level. Okay, great. I'm going to get this now. And then they get into it, and it's either it could be too complicated, it doesn't fit the goals that they're wanting to meet, and then they've just kind of wasted that time and money. And I will say this for that person that asked this question: if you have that going on right now and you want to investigate this, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to have a conversation with you and guide you down the right place. I know, and the thing is that what I didn't say about this previous to this is the reason why I got into inbound marketing, and 80% of my business is inbound marketing, is because I come from 25 years of sales, right? So I was on the sales side of the fence. So it's very important to me that my digital assets get me leads or something like that. So given that, I've done a lot of work in a lot of different CRMs, the Salesforce, the HubSpots, you can kind of name it. I've been there, and so I can help out in that matter. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, we've got some good questions rolling in both the chat and the Q&A. So I'm going to jump into one from the Q&A. Ray asks, he has two questions I'm going to combine. Yes, how much do your services, there's three questions in here that tie in. Says, how much do your services cost for small businesses? And then he's also notes, says, I'm sure it depends, but can you give some ballpark numbers for my question? And then we also have Kara asks, what kind of budget does a small company need to get started? So all three of those tie together. And this is one of those things where you would joke and say that, or realize it's not in my wheelhouse. I can't do it. So I need to hire somebody to do it. What do I have to budget for it?
Okay. Yeah. Great questions. I'll start with the latter one, which was, how much do I budget? Traditional thought was 18% of your revenue should go towards marketing. Now, is that reality? No, it's usually around 10% for people, sometimes 5 if they really don't want to put a lot of effort in their marketing. So think about it that way. The ultimate would be somewhere between 10 and 18% of your yearly revenue should be going towards marketing, one way or another. It doesn't have to be digital. I'm talking about the complete package of marketing, which can be some traditional things as well. My pricing is, again, like I said, it depends. Now, for basics, like the lowest I have for just one-on-one services is $1,200 a month. But then it goes up from there. I have clients that I do the whole shebang. I'm basically their digital manager through and through, doing this whole funnel. By the way, I don't have to do this whole funnel. What I do is, and this is another thing, what I do is I sit down with clients, because every offering that I have is customized to the client, right? That's why I do these. That's why I break these things out, because some clients might need a CRM, some might not, might do, as you know, every single business is different. Their capacity to for budget is dependent on, you know, what we do here. It's just a multitude of things that are happening that where I would say don't fall for these these ads that say, well, if you just do this one thing, you'll make $1 million. Don't forget those things. That's just not fact. So it starts at about $1,200, goes on up from there. I mean, I've done fractional CMO work for $7,500 a month kind of situation too. So it's, you know, varies in between there. Although I will say this too, for those people that where the $1,200 might be too much for you, I'm actually right now putting together a group coaching situation where, say, every Friday I get together, people can jump on, they have it's like a monthly subscription, and I can guide them through on the things they need to do, because some people just don't have the budget for it, and they want it at the same time. They don't have the budget, they have to do it themselves, and they want to do it themselves, and thus I want to help those people as well. So I hope that answers all those questions. Did I miss anything, Robert?
No, that hits it. And Kara kind of followed up with the budget, and you answered it, but the budget for a startup with no sales. So there's no percent because there's no sales. But
right,
you know, there's, and you know, and I'm going to share with our audience that from what I've seen talking to other marketing companies, they're around the same rates. They do some group stuff occasionally, or they'll have their individual one-on-one, and then it can vary on how much, you know, exact involvement you need. So to tie into that, let's see, we had, we'll kind of stick on this theme before we hit some other questions. It says, for a solo, Bryce asks this, for a solopreneur in their first few months, do you have any recommendations on the most basic structure or a CRM process while still discovering who my customer really is? What are the dead basics that are going to be there 90% of the time?
Well, I'd say the basics are really, well, you know, social media is free, so I would really get that going. I would suggest that as you do that, make sure your brand is put together. And what I mean by that is make sure that, you know, you have a logo and you have a certain look, fonts, you got that all together, because that doesn't cost a lot, right? And make sure that across those different channels, whatever those social media channels are going to be, because they could be different. It depends on the business as to where you focus on social media, right? If you're a service-oriented business, you might want to focus on LinkedIn. In other words, if you're B2B. If you're B2C, then, you know, obviously you might want to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. So just make sure that you're consistent across those platforms in terms of the look and feel, so that people understand wherever they see you that, or if they cross paths between different social media platforms, that they know it's you. The other one is website. Now that, you know, that costs money, but you can get in, if you want to get in at a lower level, you can do Squarespace. Squarespace is not bad. I mean, I have clients that are on Squarespace, and you can actually do, which I was surprised when I was doing my testing, you can actually apply SEO to Squarespace, so that's good news. So even though SEO right now is not something you would do because it's an investment. You want to be on a platform that at least later on down the road you can apply SEO to it, right? So WordPress, Squarespace would be my recommendations there. I wouldn't get into a CRM just yet because the fact of the matter is, if you don't have clients yet, you could put people in a Google spreadsheet for now until you get, you have a bigger group of people. So CRM is kind of pricey, so I wouldn't go there just yet. So social media, website, that's kind of where I'd be for you right now.
Excellent. And then with that, as you're starting out, and you're building that email list, is constant contact a good source of marketing?
There's a ton of them, right? So there's Constant Contact, MailChimp, Active Campaign. The list goes on. And it just comes right back to, how much time do you want to put? Does it fit your goals as a business, right?
Okay. And then let's see. I'm trying to balance these around. They actually are flowing pretty good. It says, what if your business is a service and goods provider? Any tips to combine these efforts?
I kind of want to dive a little deeper on that question. I want some more information. So I think what that person is asking, I don't want to make assumptions, but I think what they're asking is he has a services piece of the business and he has a goods piece of the business. The problem is I don't know what those are for me to actually make the connection in my head on where he could combine those things. Generally speaking, what people will do is wrap services around goods. They'll sell the goods first online and then as an add-on offer services. But again, I don't know. I would need more information. If that person could give me more information, I'd certainly appreciate it so I can answer the question better.
Yeah, so Mike, if you want to post in the chat or in the Q&A a little bit more information, we can dive deeper. Now, while we're waiting for Mike to do that, we have a question from Anonymous that says, what project management system do you personally use in your business?
I use Asana. People like Monday.com. I know people that use Teamwork. And it's interesting in my business. So sometimes I have to be in multiple. Actually, as you look at my screen, you'll see here I've got Teamwork here, and I've got Asana right here. It's because sometimes customers have particular project management platforms that I need to be a part of. So I'm oftentimes in multiple. But for myself, I use Asana. I love Asana. It's easy. For the most part, it's free. In fact, it is free up until you get to a certain point. And I would highly recommend it because it's so easy to use.
All right. And then we're going to jump to another one that says, how often do you suggest doing blog alert posts?
Blog alert posts. I never heard of alert posts, but let's just go with blogs. What I'm finding is that at minimum, well, I'd say average once a week is a good idea. The reason why is, when I'm doing SEO, we're testing all this stuff all the time. And right now, we're right in the middle of Google changing its algorithms, which I suspect, and I can only suspect because Google never tells anybody anything, that this new Gemini AI tool that they have, I think they're trying to apply that within their search engine, but we'll see. Again, that's only speculation, but they are going through some major changes. Look, it goes from people are doing things once a month. Okay, that's fine, but usually once a week seems like Google really likes once a week. They want to see fresh content about once a week. Now, you can go the other way around where you got these SEO. In SEO, there are these things called white hat, gray hat, and black hat. And And, when you get into the gray hat and black hat, you'll get these people that are doing this thing called avalanching, where they basically go into a chat GPT and build like 100 blogs and slam them all in it all at once. Don't do it, because Google figures it out, right? If you get too crazy, they will cite you as a person trying to be nefarious and beat the system, and they will drive your rankings right down. There's actually a case that just happened, man, it was like a month ago, where this guy did an avalanching and he bragged about it online. Oh, look at this. My numbers, my rankings went straight up through the roof. It was great. And then like a week later, Google took them completely off the charts because they figured out what they were doing. So don't try to cheat the system. That's what I'm saying.
Excellent. All right, so Mike responded back, and it sounds like he says retail items that would accompany services. So it sounds like he has a service business that also sells retail items with those services.
Interesting. See now that you're asking more questions. So I wonder if he's out there on site with his services, or if it's services within a location.
You know what? I'm gonna allow Mike to talk, if that helps. That might
yeah.
So Mike,
if he doesn't
I hope
mind.
you're open. I'm gonna allow you to talk. So Mike, you can unmute and you can ask some questions directly if you would like. He says services and location in the Q&A. There you go.
Yeah. Basically, we have a brick and mortar store where the bread and butter is, our services, but we would be selling things that would pertain to the services that those people receive, that they can use to keep, furthering the services we provided.
Okay, so what kind of services do you do?
Life coaching, soul coaching, like Reiki, metaphysical, things like that.
That's great, because I actually have a husband. Yeah, that's cool. I have a husband-wife team out of California that does life coaching as well, so I get it. What are the products? Just give me an example of one.
Like meditation products, drums, yoga, things like that, to help them with their spiritual journeys.
Okay, so what I would do, I would put your goods on the website, on the almost like a e-commerce way. And the reason why I suggest that is because I don't know, and I'll spell this out for everybody on the call, but it's much easier to sell products online than it is to sell services. I mean, as this is a kind of a snarky thing that I say, but it's the truth in terms of human behavior, which is, people will probably buy a fraudulent product online before they buy a service from a person they can trust online. It's just the way we operate as people. So I think you have probably a pretty good advantage of putting that stuff online, maybe capturing some other people that aren't a part of the service just yet, that then you could sell the services to. So imagine, if you will, somebody buys your product, and then you sell them you send them a confirmation email. Of course, that email has other things wrapped into it, like, hey, we do these other services, check them out. Takes them back to the service part of your website, and gives them more information about that, and then brings them then that way. Now, on the service side, bringing a service person into the goods is, I would just repeatedly say, hey, tell them your website, wherever you're at. Even when you look at what I'm on this particular webinar, I don't know if you can see, but my name on there is my domain. It's tacvarley.com, right? I'm always pitching my website to get people to go there. So that's on a more physical level, sales level. I'd always be pitching your website at every corner. And if people are coming into your place, I've got postcards that have your domain, have your website on it with the goods or something like that, so that they can always take that with them. They can be on an email list. You know, you got your email marketing option there for, you know, that you could talk about your products, maybe focus on a product one month, you know, separate product each time, talk about it more in depth, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I have for you there. I mean, I love this kind of conversation because the great thing about what I do for a business is, well, first of all, I just love business. That's number one. So I love that you guys gave me that scenario so I could talk it through like that, because that's my favorite thing to do with clients. It's really to figure out what's your business and how can we make this happen, you know? Did that help you? I hope.
It did. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Mike, for coming on. I'm gonna go ahead and remove your permission to talk there, but we have another good question here in the chat, and feel free to ask some more questions if you got time, but there's also no harm if we wrap up early either. So I know some of you need to get back to your businesses, but this is a great question.
Let her rip.
Yeah, can you share your follow-up schedule with potential clients and or your recommendations for follow-up? How often, without dominating them with your emails?
Well, it just depends. It depends on the kind of business. It really does. Because I've had people where, look, there was this one guy who was a real estate agent. He had tried some things out sales wise. You know, he would bring people in as a lead on his website, and then he would follow up. But what he was doing, which was pretty crazy, was that he was basically every day calling, texting, like leaving a voicemail, texting, and sending them an email every single day for some like 7 days straight. And the most fascinating thing about it was, and I know what everybody's thinking on this call, they're like, that is insane, man. I would never want to bother a person like that. That just got to drive somebody nuts. He said 90% of the time, he would finally get a hold of them and they would say, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you. Like they were apologetic, which was pretty amazing, right? But I think the secret there was, in his case, was they asked for something. They got online, they wanted information. So he had sort of an open gate to go, all right, let's talk about this. But you know, it's a little bit different if people aren't asking for information, and if the business is different. You know, if you're selling bigger type items, I mean, nobody's going to make a decision on something if they're going to spend, say you're doing a service that's $50,000, they're not making that decision today. They might not even make that decision within a year, you know? So again, it just comes down to the kind of business that you're doing. I'd be happy to hear what your business is, and then I can give you maybe a little more detailed answer on that, but I hope that helped out.
Excellent. Well, Shay, if you want to post that up in the chat, if you're still on with us, you can dive deeper. But those are all the questions we have for now.
Okay.
Let's see if Shay's able to throw in some more detail. All right. So again, if we don't have any other questions, we can wrap up early. Again, you've got text, QR code, and contact information right there on the screen. Feel free to reach out to him. Again, he's one of our vendor partners that help with this. We appreciate his time and his effort and his expertise in this area. I have one last question, and this should tie right into your expertise. What is the difference between sales and inbound marketing?
Inbound marketing is specific to digital, right? So it's bringing in leads for the sales group oftentimes. Now, sales is outbound, right? Typically, right? You're getting a prospect list, you're and you're doing calling, you're doing emailing. That's outbound. That's going out to find people, kind of like fishing, if you will. Whereas inbound is like you're building something, particularly in like SEO, you're building content that answers questions for people, right? So as they go on Google and they search, they have a problem, they search for a solution for that problem. You want to be the person that shows up. They click on it. They want more information. Now that typically goes to a salesperson to bounce back, or the business owner, right? If you're a solopreneur like that one person was, obviously that lead would go to that person, and they make the follow up. But that's the difference. Inbound is traffic coming in. Sales is outbound, going out and getting something, fishing.
And I will say, if you can do all the inbound or you can do all the marketing you want, but if you can't land the sale, then that marketing money might not be real effective. If you're
Well, it's
if you
funny
need
you
that
say that.
one-on-one sale.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because I often will help my clients on the sales side, at least on a coaching level. If not, I do this thing called first call. Like, so if I get a lead and the customer doesn't have time to follow up with that lead, I will follow up with that lead and make an appointment for the client on their calendar, that kind of thing, so that we can keep that ball rolling. I've been in situations, no kidding, where I've literally changed through consultation. I've changed their entire sales process because I had a consultant at one point that was, I was getting them good leads and the right leads, but he wasn't converting any of them. And then I said, hey, let me sit down on one of your calls. He allowed me to do that, reviewed that. Then he sent me his presentation. He sent me his proposal, and we worked everything right all the way back through into his pricing model. And then once we got that squared away, he started converting leads. So that's the thing about me that's different, right? I'm not just a digital guy, right? I come from the sales side of the world. I've owned businesses. So I bring that flavor to the table for people to bring more value.
Excellent. And then the last question that we'll wrap up with is, Dan was asking, what are you charging for your weekly coaching? I think he was referring to that kind of group coaching that you were talking about and your subscriptions.
Yeah, I honestly haven't come up with a price, but I tell you what, if you send me an email on what you would think would be fair, I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from anybody when it comes to this, right? Again, it's going to be something where I want to do it, like say every Friday. It'll be a monthly subscription, and you can show up if you need to or not show up, but it'll be a working meeting where I actually go through and I look, people come to me and say, I've got this problem. What would you do about it? We jump on, they share their screen. I'll walk them through it, kind of situation. So it's not just me. I don't want this to be a thing where I'm just a talking head. I want to actually be giving results back to people. And the reason why I'm actually thinking about it, I don't know if you know, but there's another organization in town called Local First AZ. And there's a lot of small business owners in that group. And I'm trying to work out something with them in mind that's affordable and helpful at the same time. So I would like to hear from anybody who has an idea of what you think would be fair in terms of what I just described. I'd like to hear from you. So shoot me an email.
Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up early. We've got 15 minutes early. We'll get back to your day to go and implement some of these marketing ideas and drive some additional sales with it. Again, CAC, I want to thank you for your time and your expertise in this topic. And we want to thank everybody for being with us today. You could be elsewhere, and we're glad to have you as part of our boot camp. And we hope that the content is beneficial to you and your business. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We hope to see you next Tuesday for our next session on the ABCs of starting a business. Until then, have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.